Good afternoon, welcome to Grain TV. My name is Cody Bills, this is Logan Burgess. Today is April 19th, Friday for the weekly wrap-up. Let's turn right over to the Fire Tip trading platform, see where we closed off the week here. Corn for May delivery trading up 7.5 cents. Beans for May trading down 2 1/4. Wheat in Chicago trading up 6 1/4, and Kansas City wheat trading up only 2 1/4. Now, one of the interesting things to note here is that soybeans was the only one to really move lower here today, and I can't help but think that some of that was due to the port unions down in Brazil able to kind of avoid a strike down there. And we know how that story of logistics, getting one of their largest crops ever out of the fields and onto the global marketplace, has been really a nightmare for them this year. And of course, avoiding a strike, I think, is a big win. It takes some of the pressure off of soybeans. Now, later on in the day, we did have a cattle on feed report that came out. Logan, maybe you could give us the highlights of that and whether or not you think this is going to help the grain markets on Sunday night.
Yeah, I think there is a good chance we could see a little bit of a bump up in old crop corn prices here Sunday night. Let's jump into the slide here showing basically throughout the year here, the cattle on feed report. Today's number reported at 95%. The average trade guess was looking for about 94%. So obviously more cattle placed on feedlots. That's good for demand of corn, and that's certainly been one question mark here for this corn market. That was really highlighted by the March 1st quarterly grain stocks report, which showed about 400 million bushels of corn more than what the trade was expecting. So certainly more cattle out there consuming this corn is good for the demand side. It should put a little bit of a bid in this market.
Yeah, absolutely. And it may put a bid in that old crop grain, and that's kind of an old crop story, but there are some new crop stories developing as well. And one of those new crop stories is really the wetness throughout much of the corn growing regions. And a part of that wetness is really flooding. We're seeing actually terminals along the river and the Illinois River, ADM plants in Missouri along the Mississippi also being shut down here. And as you can see here, the purple squares up there are the river gauges where there's major flooding occurring. And of course, this isn't a story that's only going to be limited to Illinois. We have a significant amount of snow still up in that Red River Valley region, in that North Dakota region, that needs to melt, and that most likely in the coming weeks is going to cause some significant flooding up there as well. This is all while we really should be thinking about getting the crop in the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. Temperature is another thing that's been limiting this crop and getting a lot of attention here. And if you take a look here at the overnight lows from where we're seeing them in Oklahoma, Kansas, into Nebraska, you can see that we're seeing temperatures in the low 20s, even the high teens here. So certainly that's not anywhere close to where we need it to get this crop planted. But we do have this wheat crop coming out of dormancy right now. Certainly more damage to come over the weekend here to that crop. So expect that to put a little bit of a bid in the wheat market as well. This has been kind of a continuing story in the wheat market. So a lot of this has been factored into price already, I feel like. But certainly this event over this weekend isn't going to help that situation out at all.
Yeah, it certainly damages the wheat crop, which is already in very difficult condition coming out of a very dry growing season, or last year coming out of a significant drought. That pretty much wraps up the show, I guess. Logan, before we close out here, do you have any insight as to where we might go next week? Maybe significant price levels that may offer up some resistance or support?
Yeah, like I said, on the Sunday night, I do think that the cattle on feed report should put a little bit of a bid in the corn market. That's certainly kind of going to butt heads with a story that we've been talking a lot this week out of China. They're worried about feed demand there due to the bird flu situation. So I think those two issues are kind of going to butt heads here. In general, though, it does seem like this corn market, the old crop corn market, has found a little bit of a bottom here. We certainly had a good showing here at the end of the week, and I wouldn't be surprised if we were able to drift a little bit higher here. I don't think there's enough fundamental news to really push it substantially one way or the other, but I think that here in the near term we have found a little bit of a bottom, certainly after losing a lot of ground in that March 1st report.
Yeah, I agree. And Logan, when we look here at the May contract here for corn, what we're seeing is the daily chart. We're seeing a consolidation, kind of a period where we're chopping around here, and I wouldn't be surprised to see us move toward the higher side of that range again, and then possibly make a run at filling the gap that we printed, especially after that stocks report
Right.
came out, and we had so much more grain than anticipated. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, typically price action tends to try and fill those gaps, but I would use that more as an opportunity to offload any existing grain that you have, maybe hedge some of that new crop grain as well. But I do not believe there's enough fundamental news in the market to kick off a new bull market. I think we got to play it safe and defensive here. And I would look at some of these resistance levels as possible selling opportunities.
Absolutely. If you guys have any questions about that, feel free to give us a call here at the office. Our number is 877-472-4607, or you can visit us over at grainhedge.com if you want to take a no-obligation trial of the trading platform that you see here on GrainTV. Thanks a lot for joining us here, guys, on a Friday for the weekly wrap-up. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday.